I had only just returned from an extended business trip, worn down to the bone and longing for nothing more than a peaceful night at home. After 10 years of marriage, comfort, trust, and familiarity should have greeted me at the door. Yet something deep inside twisted uneasily, warning me that this evening would not unfold the way I expected. I unlocked the door, anticipating the usual sounds that defined our life together. The low buzz of the refrigerator, her voice drifting from the shower, maybe the kids laughing somewhere in the house if they happened to be home. What reached my ears instead was laughter of a different kind, the kind that instantly sent a cold shiver down my spine. I quietly set my briefcase aside and walked toward the bedroom, the one place I never imagined betrayal would be waiting for me. And then I saw them, my wife sitting casually on her boss, right there on our bed. Time seemed to stop. A decade of love, shared memories, and a life built together crumbled into a single, devastating instant. For a moment, I couldn't move, couldn't think, only absorb the shock. Her eyes locked with mine, wide with guilt, though not enough to make her pull away. The man she had been laughing with looked startled at first, but that surprise quickly hardened into arrogance, as if he believed he had every right to be there. My hands tightened at my sides, but I drew in a slow breath, forcing my voice to remain steady. I didn't shout, I didn't curse, I didn't storm forward. Instead, I stepped into the room with an unsettling calm and extended my hand toward him. "She's yours now," I said evenly, each word deliberate and sharp, slicing through the tension. "I'll pack her things." The color drained from their faces. They had clearly expected rage, humiliation, maybe violence, not dignity and control. I turned toward the closet and began gathering her belongings in silence, folding each piece of clothing carefully and placing everything neatly into a suitcase. Every shirt, every dress, every piece of jewelry she had discarded during her affair went into that case with intention, as if each fold quietly said, "This is the life you chose to abandon." Behind me, I could hear her whispering, panicked, desperate, scrambling for explanations, but I paid no attention. I didn't need excuses anymore. I had already seen the warning signs, the lies, the hollow justifications, the growing distance. What I felt in that moment wasn't anger. It was clarity. I understood with absolute certainty that I no longer needed her. The woman I had loved for 10 years no longer existed. In her place stood someone selfish and unashamed. And for the first time in a long while, I felt light, almost free. Her boss finally spoke, his voice edged with smug defensiveness. "You can't just take her away like this." I didn't bother looking at him. I continued folding, my hands steady, my heart strangely calm. "I'm not taking her," I replied quietly. "I'm giving her to you. Everything she's become, you can have it." He blinked, clearly confused by my composure. To him, this was supposed to be a display of dominance, a moment where he proved his power over a man he assumed was weak. He didn't understand that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it enters quietly, packs a suitcase, and walks away from betrayal. My wife tried to intervene, stepping toward me with tears in her eyes. "Please don't do this. It's not what it looks like," she pleaded, her voice breaking. But I no longer cared how it looked. I had spent months, maybe years, trying to repair something she had never wanted to fix. The damage was done. Her pleas echoed uselessly in a room where trust had already been shattered beyond repair. I zipped the suitcase and finally looked at her, my expression calm, my voice level. "It's exactly what it looks like, and now it's your responsibility." She collapsed onto the bed, sobbing, the realization hitting her that this quiet resolve was far more devastating than any screaming match could have been. The silence that followed was heavy, almost suffocating. Her boss stared at me, her eyes darted between us, desperately searching for a way to undo what had already begun. There was none. I rolled the suitcase toward the door, each step measured, echoing like the final beats of a drum closing a chapter of my life. I paused once, turned back to the man she had chosen so carelessly, and said, "Take care of her because I won't." There was no anger in my voice, only finality. I saw panic flicker in his eyes then, the dawning realization that he had stepped into someone else's life believing he held the power, when in truth, I had already made the decision that mattered. I understood then that power doesn't come from desire, it comes from control. Once I left the bedroom, I called a cab to take her and the suitcase to her parents' house. I didn't want to watch her go. I didn't want to hear apologies, excuses, or sobs. I wanted only the truth, the cold, undeniable reality that I had chosen myself over 10 years of lies. I walked through the house, taking silent snapshots of every room, every memory she had broken, and made a promise to myself. I would rebuild, stronger, wiser, and without someone capable of betraying me so completely. This wasn't the end of my life. It was the beginning of reclaiming it. When the cab finally pulled away, the weight of a decade of pain lifted, just slightly. I sat on the edge of the bed in silence, breathing in the emptiness she had left behind. There was grief, yes, but there was also clarity. I realized I had tolerated far too much for far too long, and now the universe had given me a chance to start again. The calm I felt wasn't cold or hollow. It was freedom. Freedom from someone who no longer valued the life we had built together. And that freedom, born from betrayal, was priceless. Her calls started almost immediately. Frantic, desperate, filled with disbelief. "Please, I didn't mean it. Come back." She sobbed into the phone, her voice raw with panic. I didn't answer. I didn't reply. I refused to give her another opportunity to manipulate or guilt me. She had forfeited the right to my attention the moment she chose another man over our marriage. My silence was my answer. It was cleaner, sharper, and far more painful than any words I could have spoken. Eventually, she understood that no apology, no tears, no explanation could undo the destruction she had caused. Days passed. Her messages became less frequent. Her boss stopped calling altogether. And for the first time in years, I felt genuine peace. The peace that comes from facing betrayal not with rage or desperation, but with calm, deliberate clarity. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need validation. I chose myself. And in doing so, I discovered a strength I never knew I possessed. Betrayal, I learned, can either ruin a life or awaken the one you were always meant to live. Months later, I sold the house and moved into a smaller apartment, filling it with things I loved and people who truly cared about me. Occasionally, I would hear her name or see a message pop up, but I never responded. I didn't need closure. I already had it. The betrayal she thought would destroy me had, in truth, set me free. Walking in that day and finding her on our bed with her boss was the most painful experience of my life, and, unexpectedly, the most liberating. Sometimes, the greatest power doesn't come from punishment, revenge, or tears. It comes from walking away calmly, confidently, and leaving what is toxic behind.